In the Money Media Network and the In the Money Media YouTube channel, we're back with special coverage of Assiniboia Downs. Ray Cotolo in for Mikee P this week because he's been kidnapped. Oh, but rest assured, he's not in any type of danger. This is just, we're trying to just figure out like what he's actually worth. It's purely just an evaluation thing. And for his sake, I hope PTF has to put up a pretty penny, because for me, if it was ransom for me, I'd probably only be worth like a cloth napkin and a box set to mash. But we're going to look at some Assiniboia racing for Tuesday, September the 30th, last day of September in the year 2025. It will never happen again. Maybe for good, maybe for not. To join me in this discussion for late pick 4 action at Assiniboia Downs, we have Mr. Kevin Plowcha, a face I'm not sure that has come for the Assiniboia season yet this year on the In the Money Media Network, but rest assured he is a young gun in a new apartment, so his picks are probably going to be good because they either hit or he gets evicted from his new place. But first things first, Kevin, before we get going, what would you want your ransom to be if you got kidnapped?
Well, I don't know if I'd want to be kidnapped.
Well, let's assume in the hypothetical that it's been your boyhood dream.
Okay. My ransom, a couple months rent, maybe.
Oh, you aim so low. I mean, feel free also.
Go. This is the first Assiniboia show. I think we're going to aim the bar a little bit low. So a couple months rent. If this pick 4 goes well, we might up it a little bit, maybe 6 months.
I see. So you're like a ground floor stock operation. You're looking to build your shareholder value down the road.
Yes.
I encourage you though, if you're trying to update your Hinge profile, maybe use what your ransom would be as one of the prompts on there. And for anyone who's watching this show who has the question of what is Hinge, I would encourage only the men in our audience who have wives to download it on their phone and not say anything about it. Your wife will love to have a conversation with you. Let's have a conversation though, Kevin, about what everyone comes here to the In the Money Media Network for. And it's not for whatever other things come up to my mind. It's what does Ray or anyone that has any idea of anything like about the horses that we can maybe bet on inside of this Assiniboia sequence. Obviously appeals for people who maybe this is their first time, because there's only a few weeks left of the Assiniboia racing season. $50,000 guaranteed pool in this pick 4 sequence, and it's $1 minimum. So already plenty of appeals for you to potentially strike big, especially since, Kevin, I'm sure you're familiar at the very least with Assiniboia sometimes feeling like a roulette wheel when it comes to racing.
Yeah, I feel like you get two sides and not much in between. You either have a roulette wheel and it's just complete, bombs everywhere, and then sometimes you have the case where Antonio Whitehall wins 4 and the pick 4 pays $30. Being more of a harness guy, I have been familiar with a lot of different minimums for pick X sequences, and dollar minimums I think are fantastic. I'm getting more familiar with them in Northfield because they have a couple, but it just exponentially increases your payout. Even when a couple favorites come in, all it takes is one sort of mid price. I mean, you're getting $100 when instead you probably should have got maybe 30. So they're really, really nice.
Yeah, who would have thought that in the math of it, if you cut the number of possible combos that cash, they end up paying out more. It's really brilliant how all of that aligns. Late pick 4 at Assiniboia starts with the 4th race on Tuesday, September the 30th. Kevin, we're starting with a 7.5 furlong. Not really sprint, because at Assiniboia, this is a 2-turn race. So they're really going to be stretching these horses to their gills, if you believe that they even have gills. They might in a few centuries' time, if you believe in that stuff. But this is a race, Kevin, when you look down the page, you mentioned Antonio Whitehall. It seems like he has the horse in maybe the appropriately named in form, coming in off a second-place finish, but a win at this Class 2 starts ago. Obviously, a lot of tickets are going to go through him. How are you going to handle a horse like him, and what's your overall approach in the opening leg here?
Well, I don't know if you want to spread too deep just because he does look very obvious. I think on paper, this lines up very obvious between the 3 and the 7, wrong direction. I'm not going to be using the latter, who is just 1 for 13 this year, but I will use the 3 in form, who is keeping up with his namesake. Since the claim, he's just been very good, has won 3 of 5 and nearly won last week, just missed by a neck as the favorite. You get Whitehall back again. And I just think he's really obvious here at this 5,500 level. You see his 2 recent races there was a win by a length and a win by 2.5. Both decent figures as well. So I think he's a logical use. And the 5 Blue Sky Jade, just considering what he's done in the last couple months, I mean, you'd have to give him, I think, a little bit of forgiveness for that last race, going a mile and a 16th, because clearly something went wrong there. He was the lone speed, but he just was completely empty in the stretch. I'll go back to him at what will be, I think, an even more inflated price than what he was last time, almost 6-1 there. And that was a race in the 7,500 claiming. So it gets a drop back to the 5,500. I'll use him at a little bit of a price. Won't use the 7 wrong direction, though. I do understand that he is live as well, I think, in this spot. I'm just 3-5 in race 4.
I really didn't know what to do with Blue Sky Jade myself, because that last race, I mean, you look down the page, he has a similar type of faltering clunker that he went on June the 10th when he couldn't get to the lead. But the other thing that I just didn't know is with the jockey switch, if maybe there was just like a little bit of a learning curve where Whitehall maybe just knows the quirks of the horse to get him to roll his speed accordingly, and Ali, it being his first start in the saddle on him, maybe that's a reason why things went more south than usual. Drop in class, I could see how maybe he doesn't play to the 5-1 morning line, this being the opening leg. You have some room to better assess what value he might offer. But the key thing with him, I feel, and I was going to bring this up with as my main qualm with the 3. The 3 sometimes not the best breaker. You look at when this horse gets out of the gate, he's usually behind the ball at first, and so him being even money on the morning line, I'm thinking, is there a way that some other horse could get the jump on him? The 5 is a logical speed here, but given that he quit last time, I'm not really so interested in him. I was somewhat interested in the 6 horse, though. It was this big, who's making first start off the claim. That was a pretty good win going 7.5 at the 6-4 level. And this horse has always taken money in every single one of his starts. Honestly, the main appeal, aside from the fact that he also breaks into those stocking spots and he can make that power move potentially before in form hits his best stride, is that he's just consistent. I mean, you look at a lot of these horses at Assiniboia, Kevin, and the 5 is not exhibit A, but maybe exhibit C of this. He has 3 really good lines, but you still get that odd outlier here and there. And just given what price he could be, because we're looking at this a day in advance, I'd probably want to lean more on the 6 is value here. I understand the 3. I probably use the 3 in this race as well, but I think It Was This Big has a shot to get a tactical advantage on the favorite in that first leg. What do we think, though, the second leg, Kev? We're sticking to 2 turns in a 4,000 claiming race going 7 furlongs for race number 5. I looked up and down this page at least a couple of times, maybe this many times. I haven't really learned what number that is yet. But what did you find appealing inside of the second leg?
Well, I looked up and down this page probably as many times as you did, and I still...
What is this number, then?
I don't know. Many.
Okay, that's not good. But that means it's hard. And maybe you can...
I think it's tough because I'm still trying to figure out who's going to be the speed, I think. I think all of the horses that I like are just kind of stock types. And, I mean, I think they'll fare better going 7 furlongs because you look down the lines of some of them and, they're going 5.5, 6. I think the 7 is going to really help a horse like the 3 Far Beyond, who's 8-1 in the morning line. Back to Ronald Alley here again. Who I like in the 4th race, was a winner last time in a lower level against 3,000 types. And that was a bit of a decent price there, 7-2, but he went way wide and was able to get the job done. You see sometimes at Assiniboia, horses just lose 3-4 lengths moving off that turn because they go so wide. He could set up a nice mid-pack trip and maybe get a toe. I don't want to use like harness terms, but I guess like go up into the race, just able to back and swing wide and produce that kick again. It's just tough though, because it's a tough balance, because I think he he's going to be the right price to take a shot on a horse like that, making a wide move around the final turn, even though sometimes they can be hard to trust. A little bit more logical, maybe the 4 McEwen, who comes off a 3rd place finish at 4-5, but now you get Whitehall. I think that 5-1 morning line is not holding, but this is another one that's stretching out from the 5.5 to the 7. And I think with Whitehall on, there's going to be reason for him to step forward. And the 5, the morning line favorite, 2-1, Shemayim. Are we going to go with that? Shemayim?
Yeah, it's like the Pokemon, but not really spelled the same.
It's not Shaman, but it's Shemayim.
I'm impressed that you knew the reference I was going for.
I don't live that much under a rock. Don't worry. We'll go with Shemayim, though, at 2-1. When at 7 furlongs, 3 back, has been the only horse that has been consistently going this distance. So I think that gives him a little bit of an edge. Comes off a nice win by 2.5 lengths with Demario Bino in the saddle. I think he's very logical as probably the main speed type if he wants to handle him that aggressively. So I'm 3-4-5. I was a little bit curious. I know the horse is an AE, but if the 10 draws in, maybe look at him a little bit. That's Zen State at a big price. Maybe exotic uses, but that's only if he gets in. He's an AE right now, but I'm 3-4-5.
It sounds like you encountered the same issue I had somewhat with the first race as well, which is who actually has speed, who actually is going to be forward, because a lot of the horses that figure to take play are more stalking closing types than any. The 5 maybe does have the best speed of them, but I even look at a horse like the 2's 3-1 the morning line, coming in off a win at Canterbury first start here for trainer Sherry Lang, breaks behind the ball, has to climb into the race. And then even just like most of the other horses who are double digits on the morning line, they just kind of sit back and then maybe they get into the race, maybe they don't. You could argue then that this has the potential to be one of those types of chaos races. Just given that there is no pace, so it could be up for the taking. That's an argument where you'd maybe throw handicapping out the window and just use prices for the sake of prices. But I also say this because in terms of like how I look at the race, I only see the 4 as really having a shot. So it's like if I'm handicapping this, you single the 4 here, McEwen. If you don't handicap this, then really you can throw any logic out there to get through to the next leg. But you look at McEwen specifically, he should fit this class fairly snugly. The stretch out is appealing, even though his first start at 7.5 back on August the 27th. Horse went backwards when he was sitting up close. But you could argue that was because he was against much tougher horses. That was the optional claiming group. This is a 4,000 claiming group. I mean, you look even deeper on the lines then. This is a horse that was runner-up in the Manitoba Derby. So there's a lot of back class on this 4-year-old, this now 4-year-old gelding, who also was bet down to be 4-5 last time. The break didn't really go his way, gets the top rider on the grounds. It's a situation where this is a field of horses that are really struggling to find their rhythm, and this horse is at least in form. Not to take that away from the one in the first leg, but yeah, I think he's the only one you could actually defend from a handicapping perspective. Any other horse you're playing from a gambling perspective, and there's nothing really wrong with that, because sometimes the gamble is more logical than the handicapping. So that's the trick of this second leg to me. The 4 should at least be able to get into a good spot, has the class, has the ability. But again, in terms of my confidence, I'd give maybe like a 3 out of 5 that the horse gets to the winner's circle. So there's room for something weird to happen. What were you saying?
It's shaky for sure, I think, this race. It could blow up potentially in a big way.
Oh, for sure. Let's move then into the third leg. Speaking of optional claimer, 12-5 the tag. Again, we're going 7 furlong. These horses they're not going to get a break this evening. They're really going the distance at Assiniboia Downs. I thought that this was also a little bit of a tricky race, but this time I think it's because you have a couple of in-form horses that are moving up in class, and you really have to assess who actually is the cream of the soup, so to speak.
Yeah, and I think it's, I don't want to say more fun, because it's always more fun to watch better horses. I don't know if there's anyone who's like clamoring to watch a 2-claimer, but I mean, I'm sure they're out there. But, you know, back in the, I want to say 4th race, you know, we're talking about horses that are just kind of sitting along and riding along and might get a piece. But now here, I mean, we're looking at some nice horses here. Potentially tricky between a nice matchup here between the 4 and the 6. I'm just going to put all my eggs in the basket of the 6, Marvelous Lady. I know that's probably, you know, lessening the chance that I hit a big score here because I'm singling an even money morning line horse. But just the class that this horse has been holding in many stakes over the last month or so, and racing well. Was a 3rd in a 25K stake, going a mile and a 16th. Now is going 7 furlongs here. You get Whitehall again. I know we've mentioned his name a lot, but you're going to do that one. But for the top rider, I'll single him. Although on a backup ticket, I would take a big shot, I think, with the 8 Midnight Candy Storm. I think he's a little bit interesting if he steps forward and brings his best. Comes off a confidence-boosting win against 6250s. And I think if the race falls apart, he could be the one to swoop them at a gigantic number. I would use him in exotics. But in terms of a main ticket, I'll single Marvelous Lady and move on.
Just because she is the even money, that's why I dug extra deep inside of this race, because already the first leg, potentially I have an even money favorite. I take a little bit of a stand in the second leg, but again, we have reservations of how much that 5-1 morning line is going to play on McHugh. And Marvelous Lady certainly has the merits, just given how she was cashing checks in stakes company. And now she's coming into this optional race with a tag, but again, she has to. She won at this level on June the 23rd, so that's the only option for her to race here, essentially. And plus we're towards the end of the meet as well, so if anything, if she comes back next season, this is just a buffer for that 6-year-old campaign. There's not really anything to target. If she can grab the win and end the meet, like all of this is fairly logical, but because she's such a short price, I almost like begrudgingly want to use her as a B, because I do also see how she performed in that 5.5 furlong race, which much different dynamics than the 7 she's racing here. I do recognize that. But to the point I made in introducing this race, there are other horses that are on the upswing. Like Bound for Heaven has plenty of appeal. One going 7 furlongs at the optional tag last time, was heavily bet, first time Lasix. Also, I just realized has a 6-pound allowance on the even money morning line, because it's a 3-year-old filly inside of this race. And she beat Older last time as well. She's probably the second choice inside of this race, but you know, she's in form. I think she can run figures that match the 6s, and depending on how the money is distributed, even if the 4 is the second choice, but is by like maybe 10 or 20%, just to throw out a figure, there's still value in trying to cash on her. And I also thought the 5 Bring on the Bubbly is interesting, even though this could be a little too deep of a class hike. She at least has put in some improved performances when dipping down, and has been in what I feel is probably productive positions relative to how this race is going to run. She's going to be in a stalking spot. She's been able to find the winner's circle in both of those occasions against cheaper horses, but she's 15-1 on the morning line here. So I feel like depending on how things shake and how things set up, maybe Bino is in the right spot and the horse is truly just on the upswing. That's how you get long. Kevin, no one ever cashes on a long shot in a purely logical way. They're a long shot because they're kind of a Hail Mary at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. See, I knew I could get that out of you. You always agree with me. Let's move on to the last leg then. Race number 7, 5,000 non-winners of 2. I just realized every single one of these races going 7 furlongs, not a single sprint in this pick 4 sequence. Another potentially even money morning line favorite in 2 left to load. But I don't know about you, Kev. Of all of the heavy chalks we've seen on the morning line in this sequence, I feel like this is the one that you probably could go against.
I did. First of all, I would say that my first time talking about Assiniboia, I think it's a mandatory that I agree with the host no matter what. Now, that might be to my detriment, but I think I just have to agree with the host so that I could be invited back on next time. Second, I agree.
Well, you're already doing wrong because it's not the host, it's dear leader. But please try and get your brownie points back.
Ridiculous. Second, though, I agree with you about 2 Left to Load as being the most susceptible of the heavy morning line favorites. I didn't use her here. I think that others have been running figures that are pretty similar to her, and she hasn't exactly been producing the most eye-popping miles, although she does have the back class of racing in stakes, and she did win a stake 2 starts ago. I don't think she did it in a way that was pure domination, and I don't think this is a group that she necessarily towers over in a way that she might go off odds on in this spot potentially. I don't.
That's the thing. It's like, who knows?
And I'm not willing. Well, even money on the morning line, I'm just not willing to swallow that. So I'm going to try 2 others. First, the one Dirty Flirt, Whitehall again. I need her to be a little bit closer because she tends to swing wide, way wide around the final turn, and she just loses too much ground. And if she's just a little bit closer, I think that she's one that can make maybe one move and try to hold them off. You saw it 3 starts ago on July the 30th. She made a nice move, but ended up losing by a length and a half. I think she's one that Whitehall could get just enough out of if she sits in the right spot to produce an upset. And I'll also use the 4 Mary who although is not really much of a long shot, I think is a solid second choice offering. She was better last time, going 6 furlongs, finished a strong second by just half a length. I think she's getting better. You saw on September 2nd, she took a step forward. And then last time out, back in 15 days, she almost got the job done. So I think she's very logical in here to take down a horse like the 7, 2 Left to Load. So I'm 1-4 in the finale. We'll try to get those 2 home.
This recording is unrehearsed, unplanned. And quite frankly, why should it be? Why would we script our picks beyond what we actually looked at? But I only say that because, Kevin, like you have the exact same horses I have inside of this race.
Really?
As you said, I must agree with dear leader, whoever is so handsome, which I do have that clip of you saying that as well right after that. That was unplanned for us to land on the exact same horses against the chalk inside of this race.
Jeez.
Yeah, but I saw the same things with Dirty Flirt on the drop-in class. You look 3 starts ago when she was able to sit close, was able to find the winner's circle at odds of 9-2. Like, that's the type of trip I imagine she can orchestrate from the rail draw. But, sometimes the rail in the flats is as tricky as it is in harness, as we deal with all the time, Kev, at a track like Woodbine Mohawk Park. I remember thinking, well, you have the inside post. You're the first one to the pylons, and every single driver says to me, I would rather die than have the pylon post in my life. But Dirty Flirt, assuming that she can avoid whatever type of braking traffic or congestion might occur out of the gate, she should be able to land into that stalking spot and maybe go a good race. Like, I should correct myself. Like, when she was second at 9-2 3 starts ago. At the 5,000 level. But the appeal of the 4 Mary Who is purely like she's got the speed. If anyone's going to try and run away with it, it's her. And this is also a race where, Flintlock has some speed as well, which could make it a little precarious for someone to go pillar to post inside of a race like this. But Mary Who, at least it seems like she has a little bit of tenacity where if she gets into a battle, Flintlock likes to quit. She can get a head up, build some courage, and maybe they're just far enough ahead of whoever's stalking to get to the finish first. Otherwise, you're really hoping that most of these other horses come flying into the mix late. And I could say, maybe there's like appeal. And I don't know if I can say there's appeal in a horse like the 8. Because the 8 was closing to get third last time. But you look back to when she won 2 starts ago, they went 52-2 to the half. They went a blazing harness speed to the half in that race. So I don't know that type of close is going to translate well into a race like this. But I'm definitely 4 on top. The 1 I think has some value just as a stalking type. And again, not planned that Kevin would try to suck up to dear leader in such a way. But I think the best part of doing these videos, Kevin, is that they can go one of 2 ways. Either they people watch them and then they go, I know exactly which horses not to use, and they still cash a ticket, which in some ways is us doing a public service. But then also they stand the possibility of becoming historical texts, where one of us had the single combo that paid $50,000 and everyone goes back to watch it because it was our last appearance in public ever. If we could assume that $50,000 can set a person off for life and not just maybe for 2 months rent, as again, you aimed so low for, I think you could get 5 months rent on your ransom.
3?
I mean, well, you definitely get 3 at 5. Thank you.
Bar lower.
No, you see, when you move the bar so low, eventually you're in the ground, Kevin. And you know what happens when you're in the ground?
Not good. We don't want that.
As long as you're anything above 6 feet, you're probably doing okay. Kevin, thank you for being on this show. And again, next week is the last week of racing at Assiniboia Downs. Mikee P will be back here with you, with or without rope burns. I don't know how they're holding him up, but I'm sure he's being treated quite well by his captives. And I want to remind everyone that it's not like Fargo. It's not a Fargo that's happening with Mikee P, but he's going to be back. He's going to be happy. He's going to be refreshed, and he's going to be excited to return to the In the Money Media Network, as will I with Harness Player stuff. As I'm sure Kevin will be too. You'll see his face again around these parts. If you're listening, thank you for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, check out all the other stuff we have here on the In the Money Media Network for harness and or thoroughbreds. A lot of great stuff to come with Breeders' Cup on the way just a month from now. Things never really stop. And even when they do, they just start up again, because right after Breeders' Cup, it's the road to the Kentucky Derby. So be sure to subscribe to the In the Money Media Network. And as Peter Thomas Fornatal says, you can win your photos. Like that. That's fine with me. I wish the best for you.